Okay, gentlemen, we are at the hour. We're going to call this court meeting to order. Let the record reflect this meeting has been duly called in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, and a quorum is present. It's the practice of this court to exercise an invocation followed by a pledge of allegiance, and that's rotated among the commissioners. And this morning, Commissioner Hudson will be providing that for the court. If there's anyone that's present that's uncomfortable with our practice, or you prefer to step outside or mute your line, please do so at this time. Commissioner?
Dear Lord, we thank you for the day. Thank you for the beautiful weather we're having. Pray that you would be with us this morning in court as we make decisions for the people of the county. Pray that you would be with those that are sick and hurting today. And we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen. American flag. Salute the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. This is Eric. Good morning, Councilor. We are in the courthouse. Where are you? Oh, okay. Well, no, we're completed with that. We are awaiting your arrival. Okay. It's here. All right. Madam Clerk, is there any public comment this morning? Okay. Come on in, listen. All right, then we'll go to the consent agenda, and Bonnie's advised that there are no minutes that she requests the court take action upon. And we're not aware of any resolutions or proclamations that need to come before the court at this time, or any orders. But we do have a couple of consider, approve, and informational items, and Commissioner Shirk has those for the court this morning.
Commissioner? Yes, sir. The first one, bring in the form of a motion is to hire professional engineering services from Goodman, Lasker, Strong, out of Lufkin, Texas, to review and approve the subdivision application that has been submitted to Precinct 1 Commissioner Joe last year.
Okay. That comes in the form of a motion with a second. And is there comments or questions?
I just want to say that it's a pretty extensive subdivision. We're putting in, or being applied for, particularly with Joe, and I think anyone very comfortable with the regulations or reading the regulations in engineering. So this would be just for this application, and we can come back and look if we need to, or the court feels that we put on the agenda to do a higher method retainer or something. For now, this is just for this regulation.
Okay. Any other comments or?
They actually pushed it through pretty quick. These guys that are going to develop this, I think they're going to have 90 tracts of land in this subdivision. So it's going to be a big deal. I'd like to see that company deal with that rather than us.
Yeah. Good point. Morning, Counselor.
This is nice. How good is that? You're back now. This is fancy. I think I'm gonna.
It's only our second time, so.
Oh, this is only your second time.
Well, let's continue. Any comments regarding item A? Are there any? Hearing none, all in favor of aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Item B, Commissioner?
We ask to receive and provide information, evaluate demographics, take action to establish criteria for redistricting and take possible action regarding redistricting of county political boundaries. And that comes in the form of a motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
The redistricting. That's big.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Here,
So
let's go over here.
If not, I can pack back up. I'll be happy to put all this back away if y'all are gonna do that, because it's kind of required by law, so.
Okay, so we have the the motion with the second. Now, comments. Hearing none, all in favor, aye? Are there any opposed? Are there any abstaining? And the motion carries unanimously. Now, that takes us to comments by the court, or do we move council to, move into the deliberations that you brought before us pertaining to item D?
So now, let me just give a brief job. The 14 points on the order establishing criteria, I think I've been talking to you two things at one time, I'm asking here. Those are all the requirements that you must follow by law, under the Voting Rights Act, the, US and Texas constitutions, and, the election code. So each one of those things builds up the criteria that you use when you review your redistricting plans. We sent you an initial assessment that showed how far out of whack you were. And the things that we paid particularly close attention to is to make sure that we maintain compliance with the Voting Rights Act and the constitutions are the provisions of, maybe I can't talk to you two things at one time. But making sure that we maintain all election precincts where necessary. Are y'all an individual polling place county, or do y'all vote countywide?
No, we're individual.
So since you're individual polling place, we've got to make sure that we maintain historical voting boxes where they are. We try our best not to split up communities of interest, particularly if there's minority communities of interest that have long voted at a church or something like that, way out in the country. We keep those together. We also make sure that we comply with the election code. I don't think due to the size of your county that you're gonna have any boxes that jump up over 5,000. But we try to make sure we have compliance with those. Obviously, any election precinct where there is a change in it, we will have to continue to make those changes to the voters. So if we move somebody from precinct 2 over to precinct 3, those voters have to change also according to the election precincts. As best we can, we look at your overall minority population and make sure we do not try to dilute that population into each one of the 40. If there's a way that those plans can be developed where multiple census blocks can be combined, then we attempt to do that to capture as much of the minority vote as we can to give them, that's the Voting Rights Act, to provide the opportunity to vote as a block. The other interesting thing is we try to maintain, and nowadays you'll see up here as I project this up on the screen, we try to keep it where we keep logical boundaries, and the census block does do that, because back years ago, they followed boundaries that were, across somebody's field or something like that. So nowadays we follow creeks, rivers, streams, streets, sometimes a pipeline, sometimes a railroad line, but those are the consensus ones there. We also are going to pay particularly close attention today to the each one of your where your private residences are, as well as the JPs and constables' residence, because we don't want to draw somebody out of their precinct and make them lose the people that have elected them to serve in that office. So the primary focus of this, and why do we go through the process of redistricting, is to make sure that we capture the one person, one vote theory. And why that is so important is because under the one person, one vote theory, every person should have the exact same opportunities to reach their representatives. JPs and constables are not under that same requirement because they're not the individuals that handle the purse of the county. So that falls on commissioner's court. So in your case, that's the 4 of you. So how do we get to where we're at? And I think this is the one we're talking about, is the initial assessment and your order to move forward with redistricting. And y'all have a prison population, so there's both included in here. Some counties include their prisons in it, other counties do not. And the reason why you do not include your prison in it is exactly what's happened to some of your neighboring counties where the prisons have closed over the years. years. So in a county the size of Tyler County with 17,802 people, according to the census, if you had a prison of 1,500 people or 1,000 people, if you lost that, you would see how out of whack your precincts would be if you tried to draw your boundaries to include the prison population. And that makes it difficult if you follow that boundary. You do not have what we call a minority majority. So there is no way to actually develop a precinct where a minority representation could occur on the court, because you have, of your total population, only 7% of that population is black and only 5% of that population is Hispanic. A lot of people have asked me about the census data. What do we think about it? Well, I think it's inaccurate. I think there's an undercount this time, but that's not anything we can do anything about. That's the U.S. Census Bureau, and we have counties who have had significant changes, and those changes are probably not going to be correct because there's an undercount. People always ask me, okay, let's get to work. Where are we going to move lines? How are we going to do that? Where did you come with that proposal? I don't do proposals. I bring the software to you, and we get to play around on it. 10 years ago, I thought I was eager beaver, I guess, and thought I was doing as much as I could. And I showed up in one of my home counties where I'm from, East Texas. And commissioner had been on the court for about 40 or 50 years. He'd been there, he was like 20, he was 80. And so he's sitting there and he said, son, see that road right up there on that map? I was like, oh, yes, sir. He goes, do you know where that road is? I'm like, yeah, my dad was raised just across the county line, right up in there. Yeah, I love that road right there. He goes, I just spent about $200,000 on that road. All those voters love me on that road. You just gave it to Commissioner Fuller right there. You think they're going to be voting for me, or they're going to be voting for Commissioner Fuller? And so he wasn't happy that I moved the road into his. Another commissioner a couple of weeks ago called me on the phone and wanted me to move some lines around, so I moved them before I came to the commissioner's court. And when we got there, he told me I had gone too far. I moved his mother out of his precinct. And one of the other commissioners joked and said, well, she probably wasn't voting for you anyway. But, you know, I mean, it's those kinds of things that are local considerations that I don't know about when we're working through here. I want to make sure that I'm not drawing your mother out of your precinct, or I'm not drawing Commissioner Sherrod's favorite road that he just spends all this time out there fixing out of his precinct. I'm always trying to do it back where we have as much surface area that we can and make it as clear as possible. And so, if there's any questions about it, someone asked me a couple of weeks ago, told me that my dad had graduated from MIT. That's what he used to tell everybody when he was alive. And that technically stands for the Mont Albert Institute of Technology. It's about a town of 800 people. But somebody told me that my East Texas mathematics didn't work out, because if you look at y'all's percentage, precinct 1 is over by 11.18%, and precinct 3 is under by 6.28%. When you add those two numbers together, you get a total of 17.46, which is out of compliance for your county. Well, somebody told me if you add 11 point something to negative 6 point something, you don't get 17. And the way that this math works for redistricting is it's a spectrum. So you take the 17,802 according to the census, and you divide that by 4, and that comes up with the ideal population for each one of your commissioner court precincts at 4,451. And that's the middle number right here. And then you take the 4,451 and compare that to each one of your commissioner court precincts according to what the census says is empty. So for precinct 1, they're at 4,948, which is that overage of 498 people at 11.18%. Precinct 3 is under at 4171, which is negative 280 at the negative 6.28. So that spectrum, that's the deviation away from the middle. That's the total, the 11.28 and the 11.18, which created a deviation of 17.46. Why is that deviation so important? It's important because anything above 10% is presumptively unconstitutional according to the Voting Rights Act, the U.S. Constitution, and the Texas Constitution, and all the case law that's developed underneath that. And what does it mean to be presumptively unconstitutional? Well, if I am a constituent of precinct 1 at 4,948 people, I have to compete with all of those people to come to get your attention. You're my representative here on my tax dollars in Tyler County. But if I'm in precinct 3, I only have to go to 4,171 people. So that's an 800 person disparity that's much easier for me to get to precinct 3 than it would be for me to get to precinct 4. And that's where the one person, one vote theory comes from. So you're required to move forward with redistricting because of that presumption. And that's what that second order was. One was to establish the criteria, and the second order was instructing the county to move forward with redistricting. You can adopt that now, or you can adopt it at the end of the year. But that's the process that gets these proposals drawn, and then we move forward from there. So I'll leave that to y'all's discretion if you want to move forward with that right now, if you just want to wait, as long as we get that done today. So that's what we're doing today. I'm going to show you the software up here on the screen. We're going to start working through the census blocks. Maybe y'all have some ideas. You can develop as many proposals as you want to. I have one county that developed 4 proposals and they wanted to look at it. This is all real time. The data is changed exactly in real time. This is totally different than 10 years ago. 10 years ago, the software showed us what was in the census block. I had a pad out here. I'm trying to add and tell people, how we're moving these things around. This changes in real time through the whole process, and it's not that big of a worry or hassle. So what happens after today? You develop your proposals that y'all would like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I have some counties that have developed 1 because they've done such extensive work here today that they have seen what their options are and how difficult it is sometimes to draw that one option. Whatever y'all are moving forward with, you have a public hearing scheduled on Friday, and then anyone that can come in and talk about the plans, what they like about them, what they don't like about them, and then assuming that where everyone's satisfied, you will move forward and adopt one because we have an expedited filing period come Saturday, which is different than what we were told a couple of weeks ago, that it was November the 29th. And so that's an interesting point. I'm sure you've seen some of our emails that have come out about the November 29th deadline. So the deadline today is November the 13th, but the deadline December 2nd will be November the 29th. So what happens to the people who file on November the 13th versus the people that file on November the 29th? I don't know the answer to that question. I've had that probably every case, in every county I've gone to in the last 2 weeks is my application for candidacy still valid on December the 14th or 15th if I filed on November the 13th? When the law changed and said it was November the 29th through December the 13th. I don't know. I would hope somebody will come out and tell us what that means. But so far, we really haven't had any guidance on that to give y'all. I'm not an elections attorney, but I would hate for someone to have a challenge based on those types of issues. So just keep that cognizant as you move through the process.
Speaking of challenge, Eric, is there no way to challenge the census information?
No.
And even with our school populations up, our record number of voter registrations, and, I know we're not down 2,000, but there's no way to challenge it.
Because remember, you're dealing with a census that came out of one administration. And then we're now under a different administration as far as that goes. The census data was collected under one president through a process that he developed and approved through the U.S. Census Bureau. And then now we're under a different administration. And even if there was the same administration, that's part of the problem. Typically, I'm sure you remember this from 10 years ago if you were on the board, typically how it works out is the census data is released in January or February. Usually there's a 30-day extension that's required. The president has to sign it, and then it's issued on December the 31st of 2020, and it's released on January the 30th of 2021. And then like 10 years ago, they did a 30-day extension and released it at the end of February, and then it's downloaded, and everybody's here working through the redistricting process in April and May. But usually the census is approved as early as August of 2020 when they try to capture everything in that year. This year, it was not signed by the president, and so it was not released in December of 2020. And so then it didn't get taken care of until the new administration came in, and then that delayed it all the way until August and September of this year. And so we're just stuck with what it is. That's the problem. Everywhere across the country is experiencing probably significant undercounts because it was COVID. We have to take into consideration that we didn't have people on the ground knocking on doors.
They get a good census count.
So the reliance of that.
Because we have 14,000 registered voters. And our census count is what, 19?
Your census count with the president is 19,000. Your census count without the census is 17,802, which I think feeds into a misnomer that there is election issues because we have an undercount that people can use that to their advantage to be like, oh, well, there's election problems when I know how hard you work to make very clean elections in Tyler County. And, we shouldn't be subject to that because I know you probably know every voter in the county. And that's the interesting thing. I wish people could sit through this and actually see what happens because as commissioners, we're moving these things around and the elections staff was in the room as well. It's really interesting. The census block will show 11 people, and Donnie could probably tell you, oh, well, Miss Brown lives down that street. She votes this person, she may come up with more than 11 people than the whole census block shows. I had somebody mad at me 2 weeks ago over a minority population where it shows 7 or 8 people in the block, and he's like, I'll drive you down to that street right now. There's 50 people that live on that street. I'm not the U.S. Census Bureau. I'm just a person here analyzing your information. So that's where we're at with the process, both today and Friday. And then if y'all are ready, we can jump right in. Did I talk fast enough for you? I've kind of done this a few times, maybe about 40 so far, so. Let's see here. And we may have to turn the lights off if we need to, for people to.
Joe, can you see it?
Barely.
I'm feeling it upside down. Son.
It's gonna be the last one that I'm trying here. Yeah.
Anybody ready to throw?
I'm getting close.
Better? Folks, it's really good. Eric, who's on this focus?
Let's start there.
That's
And then
better.
I'll do this.
Yeah.
One, two.
That's what I feel like when I'm doing.
Is it better like this?
How about that? Is that better? So I'm gonna keep this first one just as a clean copy, so if y'all ever wanna jump back and see kind of how y'all exist. So I'm gonna call this very first one, just so we're all clear and following along on the same, place. I'll just call this Tyler County Proposal 1, and we can name them however you want to. For example, Commissioner's Court was really happy with proposal number 1, but they wanted to make one small tweak, and so we called that 1A. Or then you can scrap them and go all together and do like a proposal 2, but it's kind of easier to keep it numbered where you each know what proposal, when you make your notes today, and you call me back, go with proposal 4, and then there's no proposal 4 in here, so I'm thinking, are you talking about 3A or 2A, or, you know, which number 4 are you talking about?
Eric, are we compromising focus for size?
Probably, but I think it'll be easier, and I can try to make the numbers better.
I can see it pretty good.
It's over as far as it can be for focus. It's a good look.
College fifties, but I mean, die.
So here's Tyler County with your voting boxes turned on. And then as you zoom in, for example, we know that precinct 1 has the giveaway population to precinct 1 needs the giveaway population. Precinct 2 and 3 need to for sure gain population. Precinct 4 may be able to stay as is. just because you're only at 1.76%. So we're looking at trying to get your total deviation that we talked about under 10, because that will get you under the constitutional presumption. But the closer you can get to 0, especially under 5, the better you are maybe next time. But who knows, because we don't know how the census block is gonna make. But if y'all know there's growth in a certain area, let me know. So when we zoom in, let me show you how this works.
And I'm fixing to have like a 700 total subdivision come in, one of my areas. And probably the next 3 years, there's gonna be 90, so 90 tracts of land, and I don't know how many people are gonna be there, but that's a pretty significant increase.
10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. But
It's all if they respond.
So maybe you can see that money, there's a. I'm gonna take it off this halo effect, because that's because it's layer there. So this is the census block. If you see the light gray line that you're following right there, for example, and that's the number of people in that census block. So we can move along wherever you want to. Please just remember, and I'm gonna say this multiple times today, even when we get through with the proposal, I want you each to look very carefully about the areas that we're moving and make sure we didn't move you out of your precinct or a JP or a constable. And you think it's funny, but we did it the other day in one county. Because you get so involved and, oh, take that 13, take that 14, take that 17, adding up numbers. And then when you're like, what road am I at? And then you say the road, you're like, oh, that's my house. Never mind. Back out of there. So I'm gonna turn on the streets too, so you'll see those names as well. That sometimes helps.
your audience is quite captivated.
It can't be that impressive. He's moving it real fast. So these are all the roads that showed up. So we know we're giving from 1 to 2 and 3. Sometimes it has to be accomplished by giving a bunch more to 2 and then 2 giving to 3. But you know the areas probably that you've dealt with in your county that may not make sense. It's gonna be hard, I'm gonna zoom in on the city here, to come in too much to get, we can give population, but the problem is, there's not much here. So I'm assuming, is this the courthouse right here?
Voting box.
Voting box, that's why we kept it, okay. Where are your JP's house to, for their offices? Are they spread out throughout the county, or are they in one location?
One location.
Okay, where is that?
Over, just the block or some of the other side of the courthouse.
I think it's 203 Dogwood,
Where's
West Dogwood.
Maybe down.
Right here?
Somewhere over there.
Because we want to make sure we don't draw the JPs out of their precincts, because they've got to conduct court, at their offices. So you don't want to move too much around there, but anyway, there's not anything here, those are all 0 blocks. So where would y'all like to look at moving some population from 1 to 2 and 3?
There's 123.
Right down here, there's a block with 123. Let me just show you kind of how this works. So, we're cut off a little bit. Let me see if I can move this over just a little tad here.
Yeah, look at this, all part 2, 4 times.
So this box right here is the target, and I know it's not showing up on there. But so, for example, if we were giving to 2 or to, if we were giving to 2 from 3, this is where you would move this around. And then you click on the census block layer, and then you go to redistricting. I'm going to show you pending changes. So this box pops up, and it's live time right here. So if you click on this box, for example,
But that's going, you can't go to 3 from there, because 3, it's not taking 3.
no, I said 2 was our target here.
2, okay, I thought you said 3, from 1 to 3, 1 and 2.
So that's what that census block looks like. It's a big census block. See how it takes all that? I can zoom in too if you need to, but if JP may live in it. But for example, see up here where it says change in population 123, and it'll tell you the demographics for each one. Out of that 123 people, 107 are white, and then it'll go all the way down. If you go all the way down here, it'll tell you, and so if you want to know what WOP means, that means without the prison population calculated here. So of the voting age, 18 plus, 97 have identified as being 18 years or older out of that 123. Now that doesn't mean they're all registered voters over at Bonisa's office. It's just they aren't of voting age identified by the census block. So that's how large that census block would be. Same thing with some of these others. Up here there's a 27, 55. So those are areas right there where,
I think our JP lives right in that.
right.
So.
So one may have to give away over here or give away over here. There's a 77 right there. If we're east of 69, I'm sorry, that number is blurry right there. But there's 77 in that census block.
Because that voting block goes all the way around to the west side of the county. That's what messed that up. The voting block had to be connected.
Whoever is in here, right here, will have to move to voting box.
I don't know that one. This side is the same voting box as on the west side of that.
Oh, this is all in voting box 1.
Right, so can we split a voting box like that? Like if we take that darkened area and move it to precinct 2, which is voting box.
Yes.
So they don't have to touch, right? Or do they have to change the number?
No, this would touch.
No, it's all right, the original box 1 on the right.
That will stay box 1.
And what about to the left?
They'll have to move to box 2.
To the left box 2. I'm talking about, now, right there, to your left, to the screens there.
Right here,
No, down,
right here.
right there, again. So over here, is that all connected to?
Oh, this is all voting box one?
No, voting box one runs out of that little, that edge right here.
Oh, this right here is voting
Yes,
box
so
one.
now if you do that, you don't, is that right?
Yeah. That would split a voting box.
You can't do that. Or
Well, I mean, you would have to create a new one over there, or either merge those voters into four. You know, I mean, that has to, whenever you make any of these changes, all the voting boxes have to be cleaned up according to whatever change you're making. But I mean, you know where, so all these voters vote where?
Nutrition center over here.
Yeah, that little block that you was asking, if that was the courthouse,
They all vote up here. Where does four vote?
in Warren, at Bethel Baptist Church.
Yeah, theirs would probably be easier to be at the fire station, which is like somewhere over here.
Well, that's 18. So, where that number one is, to your left, right there, that, can you take some of those and you start going west on Sherman too?
You've got 0, 0, 0, 0. I mean, you do have some
Okay,
right
there's a
here.
few, but not many.
Yeah, I mean, every one of these are 0 boxes. I mean, we can scoot in here. I mean, you may have enough. Let's just look right there at what that is. There's 14 right here. Let's move back up so we can see. 14, 14, 45, 7. That would be 80 people.
And what if we took in, like what you were saying earlier, down this line here, and then just took in that whole, what number would we be at?
So that would be giving to 2. 2 needs to gain about 100 people, but we're right at 80. So that's gonna drop, I'm gonna scoot this down so we can see. I'm getting the reflection back on my mouse and so it won't work. So hidden up here is your same thing that you see in your initial assessment here, and it shows you so this will also change live feed, where you see right here, precinct 2 needs to gain 140, you see where that's at? So I'm just gonna show y'all this as an example without taking that other area in. So you see the deviation percentage is right here at 3.15. If you accept that change that we made right there, then that drops the deviation down to 1.35.
So is it within tolerance?
It's within tolerance because you still have 4 sitting over here at 177. So the more you can give away from 2 to 3, I mean, from 1 to 3, which is gonna be hard, the better, the lower you can get this number, the positive number down, the better you're gonna get, because then you're gonna add those 2 numbers together. So if you're curious what that section took in, just because I know y'all are always interested about roads, here's the names of those roads: Timber Road, County Road 1135, County Road 1125. Looks like this was all the boundary before, but that's what you would be taking in right there. County Road 1152. Is that something y'all would like to leave there, or?
Well, I think my main concern is giving the precinct 3 from 1.
Right.
That's my concern, and what I would, in my mind, what might have happened is I give precinct 3.
So I can undo that, just so you see.
Well, what about this, because I have to give some of the threes right there, they border. What about in this area? Because I think,
Right here.
I think, Trish, you're right here, aren't you, like right in the area?
I can't even see where I'm at.
And that will be our constable and our JP in that. So
How many people
there's 55 right
See,
there.
there's 27 right here.
27.
But we gotta be careful, because remember, we need that arm to get to your polling place.
Yeah. So scroll in, just for looking at numbers, scroll into the city, we'll get, scroll, pull it out a little bit more. A little bit more.
Up in here,
Yeah, oh, well, come on up here, yeah, okay. So does it show city limits there?
okay, let me turn on the city right here. If I turn that on, that's the city limits right there. See that light where it's lighter yellow with this little, you can't see it up here because it's too light in here, but there's a dotted line that'll show you the city limits right there.
So what if I gave 2 to 3, you got 2 to 3, right in that area, what would we look
Is that Cheswood?
at? Next Jason, look at this.
So that portion of the city is 160.
Okay.
100, I mean, there,
Three, you just, like that Beach Street, is that where the end of it, Beach Street right there? Right there. And then that next one, what it look like?
And then if I came right down here to just that, oops. So see, you see how odd the census blocks are?
Yeah.
That's 190 right there. And then if you follow this street and this street, that would get them at 266. Three actually needs 280.
To get to 0, to get to off.
Yeah.
And that would put me having to take more out of mine, correct?
To get
It's to 2, yeah. The 3 would be taken care of.
3 would be totally taken care of just right here in the city. The city of Woodville, we do their elections. And how is their council voted on? Are they at large or are they single member districts?
They're single.
Okay, so what district would this be in?
Well, they don't really have single districts, they have positions.
Yeah, they're.
Oh, they're-
Not at large, but
they're-
they'll have position 1, position 2.
Whoever gets the most votes, if there's 3 people, whoever gets the
Okay.
most votes.
So the city is not divided up into precincts?
Now, Collinsville is that way,
Yeah,
but City of Woodville, they have positions. They're not the top 3 or the top 2 getters, they have positions.
but if 3 people run for that one position, whoever gets the most votes, doesn't matter if it's 50% or not, they can vote.
Yeah, they can win by 50 plus 1 vote.
And who's allowed to vote on that position, the entire city or just the, okay?
The entire city.
So that's okay, so the reason why I was asking that is then you have to create a new designation if they were a single member district. If they're not a single member district, they hold a position that citywide voted for, if that makes sense. But if it was just like this neighborhood voted for just a representative for their neighborhood, I just wanted you to be aware.
It's like a ward, is that something?
City ward, city council district,
Something
so
like that.
they call their names that, it's the same thing as commissioner's court. A lot of old cities like Woodville would call them city wards. And then when you go back to the original plans, it would say like Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3. And that's where the representatives come from. But if your positions citywide is eligible to vote for you, then it doesn't really matter.
If you're okay doing it.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because you're fine doing it that way too. Who it creates a hassle for is elections, because then they have to create a designation. But since that's not the case, you don't have to worry about it. So if we did that, I'll just show you what that'll do to the percentages here. Pay particularly close to percentage 3, that's gonna be well below 1.31. So now that creates an easier disparity, but where that population comes from is roughly, let's shoot for 375, somewhere around that number.
So, can we back out a little bit of that, like on the east side of the beach? If we don't have to start to go online from Joe's, is that correct? So, scroll back in to where you were at. Yeah, so if if we took a little bit of this off, does it make it easier? Like if we took a little bit of these, if we took these 50 people off or 40 or whatever it was, does it make it easier for Joe and I to get in compliance? If we get back in,
Yeah,
if we take a little bit of that off, if we get back down to 0.3, and instead of leaving at 1%, that leaves us less percentage to have to work with on our two, right?
correct. But I mean, it's not gonna matter as long as 4 is sitting right there at 0.77.
Okay.
Because they're always gonna, that's gonna always be the number you're adding to, right?
Yeah.
So if you could if you could make this disparity go down to, let's say, even 3%, right?
Yeah.
Where this is the 3%, then you would be adding that 3% to 1.77, let's say, get you 4.77. I mean, the closer you get these two to zeroing out, then that's whatever you're adding to this. So yes, I mean, it matters, but you're still creating an overage here that's got to be accounted for somewhere.
Right. Hey, can you give us, when we get through, can you give us a printout?
So what I'm gonna do from here is, do y'all have the appraisal district or GIS coordinating, like through 911 or somewhere? They have those huge plotter printers. I can send the shape file directly to the judge or whoever, Donise, and then she can send that to whoever, but I also can create a map. I'll show you when we're done. I'll show you kind of how it'll look and what you need to do with it once you get it.
Our president can do that.
So the problem is, when you're just looking here, there's not a lot of population to give to over here, for example, unless you take in a lot of mileage,
What about this area right here?
okay?
Which that would cut off the vote.
Voting box.
Yeah, right there would hit a range this.
Just might have to have.
Yeah, because we can't do it on this side because our,
So you've got a lot of population right here, 243, 123, just in that area alone. And I know you're picking up road miles there, but
these are our
JT
JT
and
and
but that's where, yeah.
constable live in this area.
Or
So this side of the highway, if we could, use that as the,
Right here.
where we had that marker, didn't that?
Chief Trish lives on this side of the highway, but if we went, we could split that down through there.
Don't worry, the voting block, maybe census block is there.
Yeah, it's,
So if you zoom in, for example, so you are gonna pick up some population, because there's some small census blocks right there with 37 people. This is the largest one, obviously, with 77.
can we try that?
Yeah, that's correct. Once we stay on the other side, of the west side of 69.
Yeah, we can.
Then our options go down pretty low. Because see, it's 6 right here.
About if we took the population on that other side, to your left, to your, to your left. Oh, if we took all that population,
That's just a lot of road.
there's 29, yeah, but there's not really that much.
You're losing a lot of road.
You're going to do a lot of money.
Maybe less to do.
I think I'm gonna lose, because 256 was the border, and I'll lose like 1135.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about going all the way across.
Yes, sir. I think there's like 29, and then I don't even think that I'll lose anything. 29. That'd be the easiest thing to kind of go to you. Can you zoom in and see what that county road number is right there?
Right here,
Yes, sir.
that is County Road 4120 maybe?
That's that loop road right across from Parker.
That goes back to Seneca Road.
Yeah, because 4260 is Central Road.
What's that loop road, Terry?
I'm gonna make it a little bigger so you can read it.
I'm sorry, I can't see.
Yeah, I keep it.
$42.59.
That's right there, Title C, that's that loop road you're talking about.
That's a lot of population right there, though.
Is that correct? Where's that voting block at right there? How much room does it take, that 185 people?
Right here?
Well, right there, where you, no, over one. Right there.
Oh, that's that way, it's all finished.
But it doesn't take any nutrition?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
And it takes in our county norm.
But not at first it didn't.
Where's your county barn at? What road?
Seneca Road.
Trying to see what's in here.
Take that one out right there.
This one.
Now, this, where my red dot is right there. There's that loop road. So your county barn is gonna be right in there. And where's this road? Yeah.
Yeah, that lady's Trish, and, she's gonna be right around that area right there where it's corner is.
Yeah. We had on numbers right there.
370. But that, just so you see, that takes in this, this, and this.
Yeah. I didn't bump you out, did you, Tricia? She has
Yeah. 4270 is the,
No, that's out of her,
okay, 4270 is where she lives. That whole area right there.
Here's 4270.
Yeah. So we leave, that's Seneca Road, right? So we leave Seneca Road as yours,
Okay.
and the other road is yours.
Now, only lives part of 4259.
You can keep it,
Yeah, keep it.
you can keep both,
Okay.
and the other road is yours.
Now, only lives part of 4259.
You can keep it,
Yeah, keep it.
you can keep both roads. I don't want to lose a lot of
That
roads.
bothers me the way that's shaped.
Don't think it's, traffic's in the middle of that, so I can't make it.
You got a peninsula coming.
So is this giving up a lot of road if you take this area? I know you're losing your voting place, but if you take this area and gave back from over here.
I only have 2 county roads, I think, that I'll lose on that.
But you
The way we got it.
but you could put the line on the edge of the county road. That area is defined by 2 county roads. You could leave a county road in.
Oh, yeah, like for example, down here, whatever, well, this is County Road 4280 right here, for example, if that was the southern line, he could keep the road and maintain it.
Right.
You know,
Just like that road right there, whatever road number that is. And then that one right there, that 4260. Just leave those roads in his precinct and on the inside of that road.
right, okay. I mean, it shows that it's,
The boundary is the road.
But that's gonna put you down.
Where do you need to zoom in?
Spring Hill, somewhere right in this area.
Down, that's 4280 Spring Hill.
Okay, so we're just city one county roads it was.
There's all those, it's not a bunch, but.
Yeah, that's not busy area,
You're
that's
right,
short.
short. We'll lose money, but I don't.
Where's the voting blocks right in here? What changes on those? What is the numbers on those? Where's the 178 right there?
123 right here.
Okay. What all does that cover right there?
All that is.
Where's the border from that 128 voting block?
Oh, it's a big one, see?
Okay. Okay.
It's that odd shape that we were talking about earlier.
Got the voting box in the middle of it. You could leave that on there.
So the voting box goes to right there.
Actually, no, not to do with.
Read it on the other side of the road.
There's nothing.
But the strange thing we've done here, remember, is all of these people right here are gonna have to go probably vote. The rest of the remaining people right here are gonna have to vote down in 4, right down east, because we cut them off here.
I'm sorry.
That's true.
Is it on email too?
Oh, you talking about down?
Now, where are you talking about?
All of these people right here, like these 29 and the 7, all of those are gonna have to wind up moving to box 4. Because this is the divide, this
Box
blue.
4 and Warren, how many miles is that?
Well, otherwise, see, we cut them off now to get to there. That odd shape one, this 77, they need that to get over to vote at the nutrition center.
Eric, what's that coming down? How's that road divided up down here on voting census blocks, not voting blocks?
Oh, and census blocks,
Yeah.
there's a lot of census blocks, see all those little numbers? Over there.
Isn't there like a 20-mile maximum, or, you know, that you can't ask voters to drive more than 20 miles?
Well, how far are they driving from over here to get all the way over to the nutrition center? I guess they're just coming down one line each drive.
But so Woodville is about 15, 16 miles to Warren, just from the courthouse. And if you add all of that down, 190, I mean, it's gonna
Mhm. But they didn't have
be more than 20 miles.
Where are we at on numbers if we add those that we have in there?
Now you're at 293 just because I'm having to get rid of that 77 right there in order to keep all the rest of these voters over here. Over here. And there's not 77 people anywhere over here to pick up. Can't get it over there.
Is our percentage, are those live percentages up there too? Are we still at 9% below or?
They're not live until I mean, they're live right now until I accept the changes, you know,
Right.
that will change it, but this is what we currently are. Which was that one change up there where you gave Gregory.
Yeah. So what if you came down and we're still cutting that voting box out, we came down and took in the northeast side of Idaho, like the creek is, or the river that feeds all of that. So,
That cuts everybody over here off.
yes, we're still cutting that off. What's gonna happen there?
It's 25 miles.
Yeah, but that cuts the loading box a lot better.
No, if you take that one, it's you see it's still right here, so.
Still comes, okay. I got you. Yeah, that's a minority area. Not on that side of the creek, I don't think it is. No, that is,
It's Kyle Point Road.
yeah, Top Line Road. Yeah, there is a minority population, but maybe
Which still two. So you just make the two bigger. Leaving the same person, not cut it out. Are we okay on our minorities the way we have it? proposed?
Yeah, I mean, it's because your minority precinct is so low, you're not really doing anything to minority population. I'd be more concerned if y'all were 30%, or something like that, trying to maintain it. I'm just gonna show you what that will do to the numbers. I can see that gets you like that.
That gets us below 5%.
It gets you to 6%.
6%.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Which is fine. I mean, that may be the best y'all can do without taking huge as you see, there's just nothing open here.
Yeah.
To connect you.
There's a lot of area with no people.
And same thing over here, like this census block, for example, cuts everybody off because it's just such a large census block. Although we capture 55 people, so that just may be the best job to do.
With it like that right there, we do not mess up that voting box form, right?
Right, if you zoom in right here,
It's still on.
you still have it here,
Okay.
you follow it down. You go around precinct 3, see the blue line is box 1, this blue line. And you're still connected because y'all have that little skinny piece right there that connected it. So this 4, 7, 29, those people still vote at the nutrition.
Nothing would change in their voting.
Just the people right up here.
Yeah.
Then get moved into voting box 18 or 2.
Don't need to go over it too, because they're on
That's
the side of the highway.
So all of those will go to 2. As well as this little arm right here and this little section that I picked up right there.
Yeah, put them all in too.
All of that will go to 2.
Well, I'll still be able to keep those road miles on that border road.
Yeah, those are still your roads, which would probably make whoever happy that you need.
So can you say that as
Yeah,
on a request of one commissioner or on, how does that?
no, I would just say it's a proposal. And your JPs follow the commissioner's court boundaries, right?
Yeah.
So they automatically change too.
And we're sure we did not push her out of the location.
She's on it.
They said 4270 right here.
Yeah, so she's all right. You want to say that?
Yeah.
Say that.
Say that.
I'm gonna save it, but I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna get rid of these streets here and make them a little smaller.
The minutes.
So for example, if you wanted me to send you a map of this area that you captured, I would send it, I'll show you what it looks like. So that's it, that's what the map looks like, but if you have a mouse that looks like this, with this little roll thing on it, you hit your control button, see, it can make your street, you can zoom in and out and look at your map, as easy as you want to. Y'all may be more technology savvy than me, but I figured this out the other day and was really impressed by myself. So that would be a map like where I would send you, if you said, send me the area that you added to me right here, I could just, email this directly to you, and then you would be able to scroll in and out and see the roads that are captured. So that, I'm just showing you that as an example.
Does your computer screen is it touch or you can?
Mine doesn't. Well, this is a hand me down from way back. Way back.
What you got there?
Yes. Well, I can't, I want to do that very well. I can go.
Because it's in.
Breaks everything up. Yes. We're okay for that. Yeah. Really, we'll look at the other options, if not an option. Because you can't go down the left side, because you got the voting block off. Kind of looks like a Warren Warner tomahawk, doesn't it? Now.
Okay, so this is just a fresh, clean copy back where we were at when you first started today.
Roll up to the north end of the precinct too, but I don't think there's gonna be enough people if there's anything with there.
Up here,
Yeah, go and give it my people over, I don't think there's gonna be enough census blocks in there that you'd have to go so far. Full grand.
Yeah, on the list for.
I think people are, I think people are, you go. You go.
Oh, they are.
so here, see, we have 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 2, 7, 2, 1, 1, 17, 28 right in here, 0, 16. 18, 0, 34, and then there's a big chunk right in there.
That's 50.
Still,
Yeah, I don't have another all over it. They're just so spread out in that rural area.
Throw the people into a test stand.
and I was actually hoping to, be able to go to the left on that box one.
Yeah,
But
nobody there.
there's nobody there.
Nobody was for it. Yeah. It's probably,
Really not being.
there's no.
There's a lot of temporary.
It's just the way the county is. Places where they're just.
But, I mean, like, if you give a smaller population away, like right here, I mean, I don't know who lives up here, but like 17, 27, 19, 9. Check this where it's gonna say. But if you gave, for example, this would be coming from 2. This little loop.
There's a voting box in there, though.
There's a voting box right here.
No, where you clicked that earlier, it was.
That's 72 people. Maybe take that little street right there, that's 79. And then you're not giving as much away as you were giving away earlier.
Right.
And just take that, then see it's gonna take your population down a little bit. 3 still has to pick up from somewhere, if there was somewhere they could pick up from 4, about 100.
I'd rather not give that up.
Okay. I mean, I'm just showing you kind of how it plays with the numbers.
Yeah, see, but
So we lose, we're gonna lose a lot more revenue.
What about this corner right here? I know you gave up here.
I don't know how many police. Look, where's our proposed one at right now? It covers.
It's
some of
up
that,
here, right up here,
But it came down in here too, though.
just right down in here.
Yeah.
Can we go further up?
What about going up to
Here,
the
7 instead of going across?
What about that 67 people? What happened right there? Where did they, what block is it? That's Forest Drive.
That's up to, just that cut off.
Yeah.
It's 45.
I think, yeah, right there too. We might already had that one in there, I'm not sure.
If you stay outside the city right here and just take those in, that gets 155. Which that would change precinct 3 to 2.81, and then you're only having to pick up 298 somewhere. If you did that way, like that.
You can keep that
keep that road. What could we do differently down in here like we did while ago if we, like, we wouldn't have to pick up as many people, correct, if we did it that way?
I can't remember what we picked up last time, were we off by more than, I thought we were off 400 and 400,
Okay, so,
and we may have picked up to 295 or whatever. Precinct 1 still needs to give, which, I mean, is there anywhere 1 could give to 4 easily and offset some of that?
maybe on that south end there, box, voting box.
16,
Voting box 16.
44 people right there. It's labeling these as private roads, y'all know better than me if that's actually accurate.
Lake High?
No, that's gonna be, I'd rather keep that area if I could.
like how,
Well, that, you're gaining, you're giving it a nice right there.
Right in here, this is Warren. You gave the rest of the city of Warren to 4.
It sounds like our first one, but people want it to go.
I feel like I'm not gonna lose much.
so you're saying give
I was, no, not all
4
of
to
it.
1?
No, you'd be giving from 1 before I said that wrong.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, one, be given from 1 to 4.
No, it's down here where you would be giving it away. But you still have 40, 61. I know y'all are using 69 as a pretty good dividing line right there.
Yeah.
But you have north of here, if you continue to use 69 and captured that portion of the city of Warren, where do these people vote right here?
At
At
the
the high
high
school.
school.
Which is right there, closer.
So then I mean, if you gave up just this side of 69 right here, you're not taking any county roads, right? I guess these are county roads, so. Then that makes the offset. That's 79 people, and then that's gonna drop down the number, that's exactly what 4 needs actually.
What road is that? What border road is that right there? Is that a creek or is
It
that?
looks like it's a creek. Black Creek,
Black Creek.
No, there's a minority population in there too.
Mhm.
I'll just go ahead and tell you they didn't come out their census because 69 of the people are white out of the 79. If you're thinking there's a
I
minority.
think that's what MLK road, isn't it?
Do what?
I think it's MLK and Warren.
Yeah.
That would be the year before.
How many county roads are in there? Just the ones off of 1943?
Well, it's got MLK Road that's going all the way up.
Pretty sure it's like that, that's what I'm reading.
Right in here.
Oh.
Up there. 4479.
Okay, so it only goes up to the creek, where you be giving it away.
You talking about MLK?
I think so, too. What's that road right there?
Maybe cemetery, out of the cemetery.
That says County Road 4478.
They can look at it back on.
See MLK, you can turn on 1943, and it may turn into another county road, but it's just a straight,
Yeah.
and it comes out.
Yeah, they don't have,
Rawls usually.
they don't have a name, it's in the case, road number. We're still, way back, still calling my name. 44/7 is,
Well, they have a sign out there saying MLK.
yeah, that's still 70. So you go to Black Creek, and switch over, so I don't know how far they is.
So this is 4470 right here. 4476, 4475, 73, and 71.
So it could be yours. From the creek north, looks from 1943.
I just like that other, like everything more there.
Yeah, we do.
We look proposal. Yeah, I think that's easy.
And same thing over here. I mean, it can be accomplished over here too, but I don't know who lives over. There's a creek that's used as a dividing line.
That's two little green. Or-
You could use County Road 4525, pick up some people over here.
And you bridge.
You can keep this road.
Just road, just road would be the board.
The road would be the border instead of the creek.
How many's in that one? 45?
45.
What about that 21 down there?
Then you'll lose part of that road.
Yeah.
You take that, see it looks like
Yeah.
that.
You know where the red ones live on 1943? See, they have to drive to Ulster.
You know, the city's gonna move less road miles for me. Sure.
If, I don't know how many was out Mount Pisgah, if you gave that up before, you might be able to go back on the Mount Pisgah side of the original one, where you had road for it, where you could keep those roads.
On the original one,
Well, on the second one, I'm sorry, the one that would change,
the previous plan. not
The previous.
Yeah.
proposed number 2.
You know, when you say 4, you talking about voting box 4?
No, precinct.
Precinct 4.
You got to screw it.
Is Baker Road a county road or is that a private road?
It's not very long.
So if you did that, then the your percentage now is 297, so you're at 4.9.
Yeah, go back up, it's gonna be,
To that, go up a little bit to where we changed that, right in there, there's a county road, I don't know what kind of voting box that was in there.
It was 123,
What about right in there?
30, and 4.
What roads do those take in?
Let me make the roads bigger just so we can all see it.
was that?
4267 right here, 4268 right there.
What about that small voting box right there, that 30, and not voting box, census box, where are they? That 30 and that 4. So we could make the roads, the boundary line, you can keep all those, only roads you'd be giving up there would be the Mount Pisgah Road, that goes Mount Pisgah Road. How's that look on our percentages up there?
So you'd be right at that same 60. Okay. 6.43%.
So if the road is dividing precinct 1 and precinct 102, how do you know what side of the road those people live on, those 4 people live on?
Same with 69 or any of the other dividing lines.
Just a little more on the.
That's what,
It's
well, in my mind,
basically-
are they gaining 4 people, or is it just gonna stay the same, the road comes to the dividing line? You see what I mean?
Well, the census block is on one side of the road, so when those people turn in their census card, it's not that, the census block's not the entire road. Yeah, I mean, it is in some cases, but, I mean, they have odd and even address numbers, so they know who's turning in those census blocks for who lives on which side of
And
the road.
so the 4 is on the odd side or the even side?
So the 4 would be on the inside,
Okay.
whatever that
I
is.
see it. I can see it.
But like, this 123 is deceptive. You don't, do all those 123 live along this road, or are all of their houses all around, you know, you just don't know.
What about that 14 right there, and
You add that in and see, it's gonna just make, now you're at 7%.
yeah, it goes out. Can we took off on that Baker side.
That's where we're trying to get rid of some of the effort that back to you.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, if we could find something else over there.
On that Baker,
Is that Baker, that's all. That's a private road up there.
Baker was down here, is what I was talking about, right here.
what's right below that? Okay, but that you lose that road there. Yeah.
So this thing right here is not identified as a road, so that could be a private driveway into something. If it doesn't come up as a road thing,
That's a hunt club road.
it's a hunt club road.
But the ones up from that tree, higher up, what happens? The road becomes flat up there.
The road always is the line.
Yeah. Before it was the creek.
Look, there's like 5 or 6 houses down there, and then over here, right there.
You give that up.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's 6 houses on the road.
I don't say it.
That road you would have to give up.
But it's not connected.
Yeah. So that's probably why it's a census block, is because somebody identified that there's residents down there and they created its own little census block there, but nobody turned their census block. I mean, nobody turned their census data in.
You're talking about, you have to go all the way over there to the little loop.
Well, still got to go over there. I don't know, this is, yeah. Or like a contractor, you give you some money to do it.
So So what do y'all wanna do? Leave this additional change we made or change it back so that you have that as a clean proposal?
Probably the original one, the original first one.
So what I'll do is I'll make this change back.
But if you leave the Baker deal down there, that's not gonna affect you in any way other than that half mile road there.
Is that the little road that just veers off the highway there, just?
So right past, I think it's 213.
Yeah.
Hold on, Mary.
Well, I was just gonna save this, I was gonna make this change, and then I was just gonna create a 1A, so y'all can have the Baker Road idea.
Yeah, I think Baker would be the only thing we would change.
So I'm gonna save it as two separate ones, so y'all will have it.
There's a, we actually redid some part of it. But they're going to actually do some work on it next year. And it needs some work. We're putting out next Wednesday, they 12 loads. It was loaded yesterday. Just for one commission, for one commission, that's it. Not one to agree with it.
So between 1 and 1A, what is the difference? The Baker Road?
And right up here, this census block,
There
there
is a block right there, okay.
and I was just gonna make those changes back, so you can have two options.
Yes.
To think about if y'all wanna drive that road miles a day, or
Roads, do little lose, we go to that.
You would. That's in the 1A.
Everything else is the same.
Everything else, other than the Baker.
What you make her get.
Which would be our percentages better of that.
so that's 1A, just so you have it, you know, then that way, I don't have to make a bunch of changes, you can flip between 1 and 1A. And then, like I said, y'all started 2 over there on that other one, but y'all saw real quick that you weren't making a lot of headway.
Right, you took that out, right?
It's there, but I mean, it's just saved in the folder. I mean, y'all can go create another one or, you know, figure out what y'all wanna do. I mean, it's one of those weird things of, I think it's deceptive nowadays because what happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, people were spraying maps out all over the room and drawing circles and trying to come up with proposals. So what I don't think the public understands, if you're not here at one of the workshops, you don't really see that you go through 10 or 15 alternatives just by clicking on these boxes and realizing real quick they don't work. And so it's kind of deceptive when you show up at your public hearing and you're like, well, we're here for proposal 1. Well, we actually looked at 10 other options. It's just all lifetime fees right here, which doesn't give an accurate reflection except, you know, the quiet people back here who are saying it, but they see the work you're doing, the efforts you're going to, you know, the efforts you're going through. So, I mean, that's sometimes a disadvantage if you're not here and don't get to see how the software works, to know we clicked on numerous census blocks, many different places, which are technically options for y'all.
Every time we click on it.
You know, you're looking at an option.
So can you email those maps to Don East?
So I will email the shape file.
I have the email to President.
Okay.
The shape file.
Right.
Okay.
I can email both of these to,
Everyone, how about that?
to the shape file. And then I will send, I'll do some what I call snapshots tonight,
Okay.
and send the snapshots out to each of you, especially in those areas that we changed, just so you'll see
So
those.
that we can print them on our printer.
Yeah, you can print them to look like this.
Yeah.
But printing it, remember, you're gonna look like this.
Right.
But if you hit your control button up and down, you're gonna be able to do this and see the county roads a lot. I mean, I know it's blurry here, but I can read them here.
But Greg can get that down there, right?
He can print it probably on a map about, I think that paper's about the size of this one table right here.
So we'll get him to print on that.
I can email those right now before I leave if there's a Wi-Fi password after we're done. But the only thing y'all need to do is two things right now. One of them is you've got to sign the order to redistrict, meaning we're moving forward because you're above the 10%. And then the second thing is, do you want to draw some more options?
See too many more. I don't know if there's any other options.
I'm good with one A or two.
Okay, so I'm gonna call them 1 and 1A, because 1A is just a slight change to 1. And I will email those over, and then from there, that's it. Unless y'all have questions, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do you have those, the orders?
Yes. Y'all signed the order, did you sign the order, for establishing the criteria? Or did Rob it?
You have it on both.
Yeah, I have a vote. Here's an order establishing the criteria. Here's another one if you need 2 copies. And so this order that we were talking about today, I'll just tell you what that order says. It says, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, in the Commissioners Court of Tyler County, findings of fact regarding political boundaries of Tyler County following the publication of the 2020 census data and ordering for the redistricting of political boundaries in Tyler County. Basically, it recognizes 6 points. Tyler County has a total maximum deviation as defined in this order of 17.46%. Any total maximum deviation of higher than 10% is presumptively unconstitutional. Tyler County is acting by and through its Commissioners Court to resolve immediately the disparity of the total maximum deviation. And you're looking at redrawing your existing Commissioners Court precincts and any incidental modification that may have to election precincts as well as redrawing justices of the peace precinct. The Commissioners Court also will convene all meetings as according to the Texas Open Meetings Act and consider one or more alternative plans for the legal redistricting of Tyler County. After due consideration of one or more of the alternative plans, Tyler County will adopt a plan to satisfy the legal requirements and which best suits the legitimate government needs of Tyler County. And that legitimate government needs, obviously, one of the things I've talked about continuously today is the amount of road mileage that you would have to take on. And that's why you see the various alternatives you've looked through today, how they don't work necessarily without giving half the county precinct 3, just because there's zero population in large portions of that timberland. That's where a lot of that comes in. And you see that throughout East Texas, where there's large just pieces of property that are either in a river bottom or, the timber companies. And then the last thing is that just make sure you will address this adopted plan, which you're not adopting anything today, will address the Commissioners Court precincts, JP precincts, and election precincts. And that's the order for acknowledging the findings of fact that we've gone through all of this with your initial assessment, as well as, here's some extra copies of y'all need that.
Eric, I thought there was 2 orders for today. There was one establishing the criteria.
Which they voted for at the beginning. They've already approved that one.
Okay.
When I first came in, they did that one, and this is the second one. This is the findings.
It was just to, because you had said that those could be all handled in this,
Right, there's three things that are accomplished under this one agenda item. One is to take action on establishing criteria. One is to take action on redistricting. And
so that would be those orders.
that would be order one is establishing the criteria. Order two is the order to redistrict.
Right.
And then the third thing that we accomplished is the development of the plan, which is kind of the workshop portion of the commissioner's report meeting. So there should be 3 points to your agenda item. Establish the criteria, order to redistrict, and develop the plan.
And so on Friday's public hearing, they will, these two options is what they will comment on, is that right?
Right.
We'll make these publicly.
Yeah, you can publish the map on like your website, you can have it displayed here, for anybody that wants to comment publicly. So what you do is just like any other public hearing you have on roads or anything else. You open your public hearing, accept public comment, there may be some questions or something about it, how do the voters know? They just need to know that that's accomplished by a supplemental order, because the Secretary of State's office said that November the 13th is the filing deadline, but they have extended the election precinct boundary deadline to December 31st of 2020. And by that, she has to get her voters cards out in January before the March primary. But, we're gonna get that accomplished sooner rather than later, because she's also got to get her voters cards over to the printers. And so you start thinking about the Christmas holidays and the New Year holidays. So our goal is to try to get all counties finished by, some are finishing up Monday and Tuesday of next week. There's just no way they can get it done by Friday. But all of my counties will be finished in the next 5 days. Then I'm gonna double back and start working on our cities, our schools, and then all the election precincts. So hopefully by mid-December, the first week of December, we'll have a supplemental order that will come to the court for cleaning up all these election boundaries. And this is the time, if you know of a location where you'd like to change something, let us know and we'll work through that as we go through various boxes, or if there's any boxes that need to be combined or fixed.
What do you want to do about that? Keep it open? Or forward here, right? Well, just by the time he starts.
Yeah, when I come back the next time, just start thinking about it, and any of these that need to be cleaned up, but I still need did I get a motion in a second on this?
Well, did we?
Well, that's what I got confused, because I
Yeah.
thought you said that they had already done that.
They did the order establishing criteria when I walked in, when I first was setting everything up, but I didn't hear them do a motion and an order on findings of fact based on the publication.
Here's what she did. I'll bring it in the form of a motion, what you just said.
I think they said that.
Here now,
Just so it's more. This one's been done. Take action to establish criteria for redistricting. He did do that.
finding the facts.
If you read this, you worship, but I don't think it's criteria for this order. So, how we've been ranking them in 2 separate orders.
We have a motion or whatever you said.
Yeah, I made a motion, exactly what you said.
We have a second. Okay, there's a motion and second for the redistricting,
It's the findings of fact,
findings of fact.
and the order to move forward with redistricting.
That's exactly what I made a motion.
And then-
Okay, and then was a second, so discussion. All in favor? Unanimous.
And that's the requirement, I think, a signature by every member of the court.
It does.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, circulate.
So we have to have the implementation motion.
Well, we've got a,
Got another item?
yeah,
Proposed legislative, yeah.
okay. So for executive session, you got the memo that once Eric came in, he'd be glad to talk with us about the comments that were raised regarding local government code 153.013. Getting,
153.012 or 013, yes.
and so you had mentioned that to consult with us legally, you're gonna go into executive session to do that, correct?
Yeah, if it's legal advice from me, yes, that's what I would do.
All right, so all we need is just a motion and a second to go into executive session. It was the update that he was gonna give to us once he came on the ARPA money and the potential for conflict with the, local government code compliance for elected officials. Motion and a second for executive session.
I don't see one need to be honest with
Okay, so is there a motion to adjourn? There's a motion to adjourn.
Second.
you. I'm good for it, but
Is there a lot of